At the end of the day, we can take care of all those basic needs that people have. But if you don't have hope that something different is possible for your life, the rest of it doesn't matter. So we provide that safe shelter, those basic needs and all those supports. But a lot of times it just starts with, does God love me? Does he care about me? Do I believe that something different is possible for my life? And then all that other stuff begins to fall into place.
Hello, and welcome to More Than Sunday, a weekly podcast where we take a deeper dive into the stories, themes, and questions of our faith. My name is Eric Chakowski. I'm one of the worship directors here at First United Methodist Church, Richardson, and with me every week is one of our associate pastors, Josh Fitzpatrick.
Hey, Eric, I am more aware than ever, I think, this week that I'm just really thankful that we have a podcast at all, this opportunity to connect with our church members and others on a weekly basis. In between Sundays, as everybody knows, I'm just going to say the elephant in the room, COVID-19 has kind of thrown us all for a loop, and we're just kind of trying to find our footing and what it means to be community while we're socially distanced. And so to have this podcast has been a real blessing, but I'm even more aware of it now than I have been in the past.
It was so great to connect with all of you in the live stream with one of our worship services last weekend, either our traditional service or our modern service. And so neat to see on Facebook Live specifically, where we were also streaming, that many were connecting with watch parties. And there was just a lot of really great momentum and energy still for worshiping the Lord, even in sort of a way that's not normal for us. And so we're looking forward to connecting and worshiping together again this Sunday, the 22nd, and next Sunday, March 29th as well, on just our live stream platforms. So you can connect with us for Sunday worship at fumcrlive.com, and also on Facebook Live. We'll be there as well, and we'd love to see you on Sunday.
Now, I got to ask, because people have been asking me, was it weird for you on Sunday?
It was pretty weird.
We had a worship space that only had probably 15 people, and they were staff members who were there on Sunday, but otherwise, it was a room of empty seats.
Yep.
I know from preaching, it was a little different to preach to an empty room. But again, just seeing the response and seeing the feedback that we got and seeing everybody who continued to be engaged with our community of faith was really encouraging.
Well, in the midst of a different time in our lives, we are still excited to connect with you and have really important conversations. This week, we are so excited to have a conversation with the CEO of Austin Street Center, Daniel Roby. Well, today on the podcast, we're so excited to have a conversation with the CEO of Austin Street Center, Daniel Roby. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, Daniel, would you give our listeners just a little bit of background about your own journey and just kind of the path that led you to your position at Austin Street?
Sure. I would love to do that. It's been an extraordinary journey for me. When I first came down to Austin Street Center, I was about 7 years old. And I came with my United Methodist Church, got a chance to serve a meal, meet a couple people who were down at Austin Street to receive care and shelter. And one thing led to another. I think with my mom, we used to make little bags and pass them out to people who were homeless, and that just began to grow in my heart to care for people who had real significant need. So a Methodist mission trip turned into feeding people who were homeless. When I was in college at Baylor University, I invited a homeless person to be an additional roommate on the couch. That was maybe a naive but educational experience for me. One thing led to another. Interned with Mission Waco, which was a poverty alleviation ministry there in Waco, Texas, and then moved to Portland, Oregon, where I spent about 8 years doing homeless ministry before coming back to Dallas and rediscovering where it all started, Austin Street Center. So that's my story.
And so was there an opening right when you came back to the area? How did that line up?
No, not exactly. When I first came back to Dallas, I really wanted to stay in homeless ministry, but that door didn't open right at first.
Okay.
In fact, at first I got involved in business. So I spent 3.5 years on the business side. I did insurance, financial consulting for nonprofits, nonprofit ministries, churches, seminaries. And, I used to come down to Austin Street Center on my lunch break. And I'd stand on the corner. I'd just kind of, shoot the breeze with a couple of people who were there to receive shelter because I missed it so very much.
Wow.
But, then I'd pack up my stuff. I'd go back to the office and go back to work. So, Did that for 3.5 years, served on a kind of an advisory board for a short time before that opportunity opened up. And that's when I sit down with the board members and kind of work through the process of being able to take this opportunity.
That's incredible.
So for those of our listeners who are unfamiliar with Austin Street Center, would you just tell us a bit about the organization and how you all serve folks?
Absolutely. Austin Street Center is really, in my mind at least, a magical place. We provide safe shelter, meet basic needs for over 400 people a night. So a lot of people. We'll see over 3,000 people through the course of the year that'll come through our doors. And these are folks of all different kinds. We have a lot of chronically homeless people that have been struggling for a long time. So we'll serve almost 500 folks in that condition. We'll also see, over 1,000 people that are really episodically homeless. So they're working, they're, for all intents and purposes, making it, but they're struggling to make ends meet and just fall into homelessness for a really brief period of time. So we provide a lot of on-site services, programs for veterans, for women who have been physically or sexually victimized or experienced trauma, programs for the working homeless and those with complex medical needs. So a lot of services on site, but at the end of the day, our main goal is to transition people out of homelessness and into a permanent place to call home. And that's what we do.
And so I've read some things about Austin Street. We're talking about taking a comprehensive approach. What does that mean? What does that look like in practice?
Sure. So I guess when I think about comprehensive approach, I want to make sure that we address their basic needs. So that's shelter, food, clothing, and we depend upon the community for that. So we need clothing donations and food donations and volunteers to make that happen. I also think about the mental health and physical health that we have to address. We opened up an on-site mental health clinic in 2018, and it's been amazing because half of our folks have a diagnosed mental health condition. That's just the people that we know of that have the diagnosis, not including the people that have not raised their hand and said, hey, I'm struggling here. And so we need to make sure to address those issues and concerns. We also have the physical health side of things. We're starting a new partnership with Texas Health Resources Hospital, where in that partnership to reduce recidivism for homeless individuals that are in and out of the hospital, they're going to then begin sending people to us after homeless individuals that go to the ER are going to then go to Austin Street Center and receive ongoing care, as well as partnerships with Parkland. So after the medical and mental health, we also need to address the spiritual issues. We have an on-site chapel and an amazing chaplain who is really able to help inspire people to change. And I cannot tell you how important it is that people really get hope, because at the end of the day, we can take care of all those basic needs that people have. But if you don't have hope that something different is possible for your life, the rest of it doesn't matter. So we provide that safe shelter, those basic needs and all those supports. But a lot of times it just starts with, does God love me? Does he care about me? Do I believe that something different is possible for my life? And then all that other stuff begins to fall into place.
Daniel, when you talk about hope, you've brought up sort of your church upbringing and your time at Baylor and those sorts of things. What role would you say that your faith plays in the work that you do at Austin Street?
Well, when I first came in, for an interview with the board, I just told them, hey, I'm definitely not a perfect individual. I've got my own, issues and concerns, but I can't do this work apart from my faith. The work can be challenging personally, and, you have to make sure that you've got something that's grounding you. So faith definitely is that thing for me. If I go back to when I first started working with the homeless, a couple of things just got rooted deep within my spirit, within my soul. Those things are, if you spend yourself on behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then surely your light will rise in the darkness and your night will become like the noonday. So I know that when you choose to invest on people that have need, that God looks at that and he smiles. And there's even a place in the Bible in Isaiah where he says, is this not what it means to know me, says the Lord, to bring the homeless poor into your house? So I know that providing safe shelter, providing a home for people that don't have one is a part of what it means to know God. And so for me, I feel a sense of closeness, of intimacy with God when I'm taking care of people that have significant need. And so I feel most closely connected to God when I'm in the business of serving people that are in need.
I would imagine that your upbringing shaped that significantly. You're talking about age 7
Sure.
was your first time even seeing Austin Street Center. As you look back on your life, did you know you'd be in this seat?
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you, I didn't know. Although if you ask my parents, I think they may have had an idea.
Yeah.
My parents talked to me about finding blankets and jackets that would go missing as I would pass them out to people. And so I think that there was maybe signs of a desire to help people, but I don't think I could have ever told you that, hey, this would be what I was doing. I never would have been able to identify that.
Well, it's obviously working. You recently received Nonprofit CEO of the Year, right? How did it feel to be awarded that and recognized in that way?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I really appreciate that recognition. It means the world. And really what it means the most to me is for Austin Street Center, because I think Austin Street deserves that recognition. They've been doing amazing work, for decades prior to my arrival. In some ways, I feel like they're the best kept secret in Dallas, and I would love it if they're not the secret that's kept, right, but that everybody knows of the work that they're doing. But with that, my biggest sense of joy and appreciation comes when I know that another homeless person is helped and another individual goes from homelessness to a home. And that's really where I feel the greatest satisfaction. The awards are great, and I hope that more of our staff, get a chance to get recognized, because the frontline work that happens at Austin Street every day is amazing. And each one of our team members really deserves to be recognized. In fact, Austin Street Center has received the Case Manager of the Year award for the past 3 years running.
Wow.
And so I don't think it's so much about leadership as we've got great people on the front lines every day doing amazing things, and they really deserve to be recognized.
Daniel, I want to go back a little bit. You mentioned some partnerships that y'all have with hospitals. I know that community partners are a huge thing for Austin Street Center. Would you talk a little bit about what those look like as you respond to the needs of the homeless population?
Sure. We exist within an ecosystem of support services for people experiencing homelessness. There's no one agency in Dallas that can address an issue this big and this diverse with a population that experiences, sex trafficking and physical disabilities and mental health disabilities and so much going on with someone who is homeless. So we've got to do what we're really good at and partner in the areas, where we're lacking. What Austin Street Center is good at is efficiently providing safe emergency shelter and really walking people through the process to transition into a permanent place to call home. We're not experts in the medical field. We've known that, but we know that 60% of our folks have chronic health conditions and 25% are physically disabled. That's not including the mental health stuff that we've already mentioned. So where do we partner in those areas where we're lacking? Well, Texas Health, raised their hand, as we were out saying we needed help and said, hey, we're willing to work with you guys and go through this journey together. And so we were really excited to have that partnership with Texas Health Resources Hospital, specifically, Presbyterian's been our closest, ally there. With Parkland, the mobile medical clinic comes 3 times a week to address people's medical needs. IPS is a mental health partner that has provided an on-site mental health clinic. They're there 35 hours a week meeting with our clients. And that's been phenomenal because not only do they receive the care that they need while they're at Austin Street, but after they transition to their own home, IPS can continue to care and treat them and make sure they have access to the medication that they need so that they can recover, after they're off and taking care of themselves. So a lot of partnerships. I could go on forever. We work closely with The Bridge. We work closely with City Square, Salvation Army. We all need to be in this together. And each one of these partners has been a significant journey with us, and we're doing a lot of collaboration.
As you look to the future of Austin Street Center, what's the goal? Maybe 10 years from now, where do you see your organization? And where do you see your eventual trajectory?
Well, thank you for asking that, because it is important to recognize that over the past 10 years, Dallas has seen a 725% increase in unsheltered homelessness.
Wow, that's incredible.
We have about a 9% increase in overall homelessness year over year. People don't realize this because in Dallas, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but Dallas has the highest number of homeless than any city in Texas, and Texas has the 4th largest homeless population of any state in the country. So we have a significant problem, and as our metroplex grows, the problem is going to continue to grow. If your percentage of homeless population, is the same as your community grows, well, so does your homeless population like every other group. So we need to increase our social service infrastructure along with that. So when I look at Austin Street's role in that overall continuum of care, I see our role maintaining somewhat the same, but we are becoming more and more of an incubator for innovative services. I'll give you some examples of that. We have been kind of spearheading new innovative programs like the Connector Project. It is a transportation network where we're connecting about a dozen social service providers for individuals experiencing homelessness to get from one organization to the other. We are launching this year the largest, what's called rapid rehousing program the city of Dallas has ever had, so that when people fall into homelessness, they're able to bounce right back into their own home quickly and permanently so that they don't become the chronically homeless person, so we don't kind of grow those shelter encampments that we have. We're also, looking to be able to establish, our facilities in such a way that really accommodates, our housing process. When we built our facility 30 years ago, it was really designed to get people indoors and out from under the heat and the cold, and not really designed for all these support services that we've been adding through the years. So as we've been growing that, we've been trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to meet all these needs? And so we're working on a plan to make sure that we're able to adequately address all the needs that people have in a facility designed around this kind of housing coordination process.
Daniel, like any nonprofit, obviously, I know funding is always a major conversation point. I'm assuming that volunteers just in general are needed consistently. Would you talk a little bit about ways that individuals could contribute financially or otherwise to the work that you guys are doing?
I am so glad you asked that question. I would say definitely encourage every single person to go to austinstreet.org. There are opportunities to immediately engage and receive our newsletter, to sign up to volunteer, and to donate, all from that website. And you can also, email me directly or email our volunteer coordinator from there and get more information. It's essential that we get the entire community of Dallas to educate themselves and educate others. We currently do, and in the future expect to expand the types and significance of our volunteer opportunities moving forward. We need to be able to be one Dallas and not be this kind of bifurcated you and them kind of a situation. And so these volunteer opportunities allow us to do that. I mean, the feedback that we get from our volunteers is how amazing it is when you help us check in people every night, just like a hotel would, and 100 people's names that are experiencing homelessness in our city. And what that does to change you, because you know the face and the name of Fred and Gary and Susan and Kim, because those people are no longer just them out there. They're now people that you've had some interaction with in a safe environment. And so you really have context for who they are and what they've gone through on some level. And it just changes, it breaks down kind of stereotypes, and it really changes you from the inside out. We don't recognize that, 25% of our homeless population are employed. They go to work every day like you and I do. Not every homeless person is the person on the side of the road, with a sign in front. In fact, only about half the people who panhandle are homeless. And most people who are homeless don't ask for money. So we have a real kind of discrepancy between what we think of when we think of homelessness and the people who actually experience it.
It's obvious that you're passionate about this. I know that a lot of your passion comes through in the ways that you rally people around Austin Street Center and you get momentum from the inside and the outside. So I've only been back in Texas for a year and a half or so. Immediately, I became aware of your reputation as a fundraiser and as a person who spreads this awareness of how we can all rally together. Now, part of your reputation is throwing amazing fundraisers and bringing in some headline keynote speakers and guests. What does it take to put together an event like this?
I'm so encouraged that you say that, because it does take a lot of effort to be able to execute a great event, and we definitely do our best to be able to do that. So I'm glad to hear that that's what people are saying. What we do in our partnerships to make that happen is, we've luckily got a great kind of team of supporters. Our board has been amazing and kind of getting around us, to make sure that we have a successful event. We've had great kind of partners on the PR side that have worked with us, because frankly, I'm not a marketing, genius or expert. I can get on Facebook, but I quickly find my limitations there. So it's been great to have folks that are real experts in that area and really help bring us to the next level, because being great fundraisers, I didn't know that much about that when I took this job. And I've had folks that have really helped teach me and helped bring us to the next level, and I'm forever grateful to them.
Awesome. Daniel, it's been so great to hear about Austin Street Center, and just to hear your passion and love for this work and for the people that you work with has been really encouraging for us. We've got one question that we ask everyone who comes on the podcast, and that question is this: up until this point in your life, what is one thing that you wish someone would have told you?
So I'll say a couple things. Some of these are things that I've heard. I would have loved to just continue to have people encourage me to say, God loves you and it's going to be okay. Because when you have dreams and visions of all that, you want God to do in and through your life, sometimes it's not a straight line. When we talked about my journey coming back to Dallas and being in business, I knew the impact that I wanted to have amongst people experiencing poverty and homelessness. I didn't know that I would end up going left to go right, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So during those years that I wasn't involved in homelessness, I was wondering, God, what's up? Why am I here doing this? I thought I was called to do that. I don't understand. Now looking back, I realize, of course, I had to have that experience and go through that process to be prepared for what I'm doing now, but I didn't know that at the time. So if I had just been a little more patient made sure to take in every day as it came, realize, hey, God has a plan and I just need to trust him. That's the biggest thing I can think of.
I think that's a good thing to think of. It's been inspiring sitting here listening to, again, your passion behind what you do. We really are blessed by your work as a city and by a congregation, those of us who are already plugged in and volunteering. And we just want to encourage those who are listening to find the website and to connect with Daniel and his team and find ways to volunteer for Austin Street Center. It's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you, Daniel.
Joy to be here.
One of the things I love about Daniel's story is his constant conviction for work with people struggling with homelessness, whether in his church upbringing here in the Dallas area, to his time in the Pacific Northwest working with nonprofits there, and even today with Austin Street Center. There was a time that he named that he went into sort of corporate America, and that's certainly not to say that we can't serve in incredible ways, serve the kingdom in corporate America or in whatever job that we have. But for Daniel, he felt this strong conviction of the Lord pulling him back to the work that he has such a huge heart for in homeless ministry. And so today we want to leave you with a verse from the Psalms that reminds us that no matter where we go, no matter where life takes us, that God is always there and always present, always working in our hearts and always drawing us back to what he would have us do and what he has gifted us for.
This is Psalm 139, verses 7 through 10. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me fast.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of More Than Sunday. If you like the podcast, please feel free to share it, go online and leave a comment, or give us a rating so that others might hear about us. We've got a new episode coming out every Wednesday, so make sure you also subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss our next episode. If you want to find out more about First United Methodist Church Richardson, you can find us online at fumcr.com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. Special thanks to Daniel Roby for joining us this week, and make sure you tune in next Wednesday when we have a conversation with Ashley Elsey. We look forward to worshiping with you this Sunday on our live stream, and until then, have a great week.